on jean shorts.
I gotta have a short shot.
And then the other girl put on pants.
Yep.
And it got less and less interesting to me.
You know why they do that? It makes it seem like they're going back. Multiple trips. Be like, this is. You can post multiple times. You can have, this is when I went to this is when I went to Malibu that day and wore jorts. And this is when I went and I wore full jeans. And this is when I went and I just had a bikini bottom on.
I think it's so that you can scroll right. I'm on Instagram again now. Shout out to Link Lamont. You can scroll right and take their clothes off like a paper doll.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a different thing, though.
Scroll left, put the clothes back on.
Yeah.
That was my best guess.
Yeah. You got to really line yourself up well to do that.
It felt...
And also, Instagram, you see nipple, unless it's a male nipple.
Well, they didn't get naked.
They take it down.
They didn't get naked, but I wasn't going to move. And I wasn't going to stop watching because, hey, this is my spot on the beach. You just happen to be here. It was entertainment. Yeah, it wasn't dolphins and storks, but it's not. It'll do for a few minutes.
It's not Mark Strong. Mark Strong he wore a
strong
long sleeve black shirt and black shorts.
Long sleeve black shirt.
I was like, this guy's a bad man. Look at him.
Really?
He's wearing black.
Do you see any selfies happen? I bet he doesn't take selfies.
Oh, no. He doesn't have a camera. He doesn't have a phone. Mark Strong doesn't have a phone.
Doesn't need a phone.
No.
He has gravitas.
You communicate with Mark Strong with smoke signals, man. Maybe letters. Mark Strong only responds to handwritten letters.
Really?
I could tell just by looking at him.
You write him a letter, then he burns it and sends you a smoke signal back.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you know he got it.
He doesn't write letters.
Right.
No, he only reads letters.
He sends smoke signals in response.
You got to know how to read them. His agent and manager, they know how to read those smoke signals. Now, getting to the secret to a long marriage.
I've been married 19 years.
I've only been married 18 years. And not even that, because that's not until this weekend. But my wife was reading...
you don't think you're going to make it this weekend?
No, I believe I will. My wife is reading a book. Now, this is... it's interesting because I feel like my wife is... we've been in a relationship for a long time, but I can count on one hand the number of books that I've read about relationships, whereas she probably needs both hands, feet, and some other limbs that I don't even know about to count how many books she's read about relationships.
Yeah, that probably says a lot more about you than her.
I think it also just speaks to her capacity for self-betterment and learning about, she's a better person. She's a better person than I am.
Same thing with Christy in terms of like her reading those type of books,
right?
Like either parenting or like self-improvement or relationship.
It might just be that we're perfect and we don't need it. But I wasn't going to be the first one to say that. Anyway, she's reading a book called Mating in Captivity, which I thought, okay, all right, handcuffs.
What is this about?
It's Esther Perel. Who has written? She's like a relationships expert, and she's written this book that's super popular at this point. Jesse's like reading it, and based on this question, it's all about. And again, I'm speaking from total secondhand knowledge of the book, having just been next to someone in a hammock who was reading it.
Okay,
so that's the kind of source that I am here. But Jesse would like stop and like say something, and like. It led to conversations about our relationship because it's all about this interesting paradox that exists in long-term relationships, and that is the fact that the sort of the separateness and the distance that you have with someone that you are just meeting, just getting to know, drives the desire and the sort of the romantic connection between two people. It's that unfamiliarity that you have with somebody that you're kind of getting to know and falling in love with that draws you closer. But then, so love kind of closes the distance between two people, but it's the distance and sort of the separateness and the tension that fuels desire. And so what happens in a lot of relationships over the long term is there's so much familiarity that there's no more mystery, and then people start thinking, well, I'm not even attracted to this person. There's no desire here. It's just this love relationship. And she, in this very exquisite way, kind of breaks down this from a psychological perspective. I'm definitely going to read the book at this point based on just the few things that Jesse has told me. But we were kind of talking about that. And there is, and I think that I would say that in relationships, first of all, relationships can last for, it can be indefinite if people are just committed to each other or just committed to the idea of staying with each other. And there's lots of people who just stay with each other for external reasons, for the sake of children, because they believe that divorce is wrong. Whatever the reason is, they just stay together because of some expectation, but it's not actual desire to stay together, right? So I would say that in relationships that are long-term, like we're saying, like over the course of several years or more or whatever, 10 years or more, I don't know. I think that one of the keys to people continuing to be together in a healthy, sort of vibrant situation is something that they've done, either intentional or unintentional, we can talk about that, has led to there being enough of a separation and distance and mystery that has maintained some level of desire. And of course, that's going to ebb and flow over the course of a relationship. But it's a fascinating concept, because I think that people all the time, they say, like, you got to spice things up in the bedroom, man. You know, you got to get Google involved. You got to have Google to do things automatically, because if not, it's going to seem like the same old thing. And this repetition and familiarity, if you're a normal human, eventually you're going to be like, where's the mystery? What is there left to talk about? There's a Jason Isbell song that talks about the old couple sitting across from each other in the restaurant, and they basically got nothing else to say to each other. Mm-hmm. Just got nothing else to learn about his heart, or something like that is the line. And it says, and it's like, baby, let's never get that way is the words of that song. And I think that it's having a desire to never get that way, where you've got nothing left to talk about. Now, I don't have any prescriptive thing about it, but what is your initial assessment of that dynamic?
Well, first of all, the title of the book, Mating in Captivity, so the captivity is marriage. So it seems like it's framed in a negative way, which I find interesting, that then it's like you're trapped in a committed relationship. But obviously that's not the thrust of the book.
It's basically, as far as I understand it, it's about finding that kind of passion and desire, and knowing also that this is how, like, it's almost being familiar with how the human mind works, and how understanding it isn't that people are like, I was so in love at one point, and I just don't love you anymore, and I want a new romance. This happens again and again and again and again.
Infatuated.
She actually talks about the hormones that are predominant in that falling in love, initial romance sort of spark. Those last for a certain time, and then they wane. But the hormones that actually contribute to things like cuddling, they last a lot longer and last way into deep into a relationship.
Well, it's interesting, because Christy and I were having a discussion when we were sleeping, bagging it up, like enjoying the dolphins and the mesmerizing ocean and the Instagrammers. I don't remember what got me talking about this, but it is related to your point. And that is, I said, do you ever just have this overwhelming sense of being alone? Because I rarely have that sense. You know, it's like I've never lived alone. I've always had a roommate. And then I moved from having like a college roommate, you and our other friends, directly into, living with her.
None of the four of us have ever lived alone.
And I was like, sometimes I think in more this, like the meditative zone of being on the beach and like having that discipline that I talked about to take in the environment and appreciate it and find entertainment or whatever, and fill in the blank in it without trying to be distracted. I did have this overwhelming sense of like, there is an aspect of being, there's a certain autonomy to, like, no one can ever be inside your own brain. You know, no one can ever be inside your own consciousness. At a certain point, when you boil it all down, you are encapsulated and alone. You know, you're your own entity. As much as I share with Christy, so I asked her that, because I was like, but I rarely feel that, and I actually think, and I told her, well, I asked her the question first. I said, do you ever feel that way? And she was like, yeah, a lot. I have a sense of being alone. I mean, and sometimes that translates into depression.
Like you're saying, like a sadness of being alone.
Yeah, a sadness of being alone. Because, and I think, and I said,
sometimes I just go to the bathroom and shut the door, and I don't even poop, just to be alone.
But having an overwhelming sense of being lonely is an aspect of depression. It can be, I guess. So she was laughing at me that, like, I had not experienced that, and I
feel alone.
And I talked about it as if it was such a foreign concept. So to many people, including her, it's not. And she was able to laugh in that moment, which I thought was beautiful. And I was like, I think the reason why I don't is because I run from that feeling. It's not that it's there, but that I spend a lot of my life not being comfortable with the sensation of loneliness. And I equate it with being alone with my own thoughts, being alone with myself. I mean, as connected as Christy and I are, we're not the same person. So there is that tension that I think, what you said made me think of that, because, and again, I'll come back to it one more time, I think one of the keys to Christy and I being together for 19 years and anticipating being together the rest of our lives, that's absolutely the plan, and having a confidence in that is, I mean, on a practical level, we're just so compatible. Like, everything that I said about this trip, like making my list and the things that I valued, and like being in comfy clothes, and this, like the fact that I wanted to design our anniversary vacation in the way that I did, and it seemed so perfect to me. And like, Christy thought it was funny, the things that I was doing in terms of like putting chips and cozy pants on the list, but at the same time, I knew that she was also really into it. Like, and that's just a case study in how I think we're very compatible when it comes to the way we think and our taste, and like the way that our brains work, the things that we value. At the same time, we have changed so much as people from who we were 19 years ago.
Yeah.
We're totally different people. And I know that you and Jesse, as well as I know you guys, in many aspects are totally different people. We've grown so much. We've encountered so much in life. And with everything you encounter, the big things and the cumulative effect of all the small things that you wouldn't even put on a list are all opportunities to grow apart or grow together. So, I think just the glue of our compatibility has allowed us to face change and continue to develop as people, like in a parallel path. But I also think that it's not 100% parallel, and we don't always respond to things that happen in our lives in the same way, or think or believe the same things, or agree on the same things, or whatever at every point.
Well, and
and there's that. So I'm getting that. There's that autonomy of, yeah, we are individuals going through life together, and
I think that's key. And I wouldn't have. I mean, I did say, and I think I said it on Ear Biscuits at some point when I was talking about this exact same thing, about the fact that we had changed so much,
right?
And Jesse and I have changed in parallel, but in different ways, and at different rates, and in different ways at different times. And that has created tension at points, right? There have been points at which we were so much on a different page that and I don't think we ever really started to realistically think about this, but there have been times in our marriage where we were on a different page, and you have those thoughts where you're like, is this the beginning Is this the beginning of us growing apart forever? Like sometimes you're like, is this what it feels like when you start to grow apart? Mm-hmm. Now, thankfully, each and every time that has happened, it's ended up kind of fueling this. Once we do get on the same page, or there's some sort of reconciliation or whatever, it's this dynamic that she's talking about in the book, which is like now the desire is renewed and you feel like you're moving into a new phase. There's this, I'm not talking about you got to have a little instability in order to maintain long-term stability. I am kind of saying that, but not saying that you get to have purposeful instability. I'm just saying that it has helped maintain a certain freshness and a sense of adventure in the fact that tension. We both are really committed to like change. Like we kind of embrace change, and there's like sort of like striving for personal change. Some of that has been intentional, and some of that has just happened to us through life circumstance or whatever. But I kind of feel like there's been a number of key points where I felt like, oh, we're like embarking on a new journey, just as a couple, not just as in our relationship, but just what we're doing in life. It's the same thing. It's like, I remember a good friend of mine talked about his wife getting a sort of a drastically new haircut. Uh-huh. And the way he was talking to it, he was just like, it's like a whole new woman, you know? And his point is that kind of like, oh, that you can't ignore that's a dynamic in the way that people think. And I guess some people might need that more than others, but this willingness to like be like, I'm going to change. I'm changing myself. I'm evolving. You're evolving. You're changing. But underlying all that change is this commitment to be like, well, we're doing it for the betterment of ourselves, but we're also doing it for the betterment of our relationship long term. Like there's got to be a sense of commitment, because you can't just rely on this, the romance comes and goes, and I just got to keep hoping that it keeps coming back. If there's not an underlying commitment to be like, no, we're committed to each other, then it's not going to work.
And I think there's the foundational commitment to love each other, which involves lots of times putting the other person before yourself.
Yeah.
You know, but I think there's also a commitment to continuing to like each other. That matters a whole lot. It's a different thing, right? It's like, and I feel like I did have a mentality that was like, okay, we're gonna earlier in marriage, that was like, okay, we're gonna figure this out, and we're just gonna have a plan, and it's all gonna, we're gonna agree on everything, and everything's gonna, there's gonna be security and everything being aligned. We're gonna be like those couples. We're just going to start looking alike and being alike, and we're going to become one person.
And that happens quite a bit, by the way. And it happens in what would otherwise be considered and could be considered happy couples in a sense, in that they're committed and they're together. Now,
but I don't think I've chosen that.
There may not be a lot of sparks in that relationship, but it's solid and it's committed.
But I think there was a shift in the fact that, like, when life throws crap at you, or whatever the case may be, you're changing for whatever the reasons, that embracing that as an opportunity to work through that with another person that you're committed to can be extremely rewarding, but it might take a while. But knowing that I'm not just falling back on a commitment to love, but I'm also pressing into a commitment to like.
Yeah, definitely
helps a lot, I think.
And I would say that another key, this is not a comprehensive, exhaustive list. It's just some observations, but I think that, I know that communication, I'm sure there's couples who don't talk about this nature of their relationship, or the quality of their relationship and how it can be better and what are the issues and that kind of thing. And they may, especially I would say that like baby boomers and older, might be in a relationship where it's like they haven't talked about their relationship in 20 years, but they're like, what else are we going to do? What else would I do? Who else would I go to? This is stable. This gives me what I need. but I would think, especially for our generation and younger, that's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? I think that you've got to be able to talk about your relationship. Like Jesse's reading this book and she's like stops and like asks me questions, and we have a discussion about it. And I am gonna read the book with an intention that, well, what does this mean about our relationship? I mean, this goes for anything. This goes for friendships, anything, right? Like you got to stop every once in a while and actually talk about it. I mean, we've been talking lately about we know couples who are like young married couples, and like they haven't figured out their sex lives at all because they will not talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're so not on the same page because they haven't broken through this. What I guess for some people is this awkward barrier to be like, let's talk openly about what it is we're hoping to accomplish, what you want, what I want. Yeah. And that goes for every single area. And I would just say that and Jesse and I talked about this, is like one of the things that has kind of gotten us through these transitions and these changes and these ups and downs and learning all this new stuff about ourselves is just the fact that even when it's been hard, we've talked about it. When we weren't on the same page, we were talking about not being on the same page. We just didn't get on different pages and then stop talking to each other. There may have been a few days where we weren't talking about it, right? But we would always get back to like, all right, let's have an open dialogue about our relationship. I just don't see how it can continue without that.
And I mean, to kind of bring this to a conclusion, ultimately, I'm just going to take a position of I'm so grateful, having over 19 plus then 2+ years of dating, everything that Christy and I have been through individually and together. I'm just grateful that everything's an opportunity to bring you closer or to send you apart a little bit. And sometimes both. One thing can do both in either order. It's such a dynamic thing. Every relationship, but I can't think of any more dynamic than with a partner, like being married. It's just I just cannot take credit for us being together, and like with the stuff that we've listed out and the insights that we feel like we have.
A lot of it is just luck.
Well, yeah, and it's just luck, fortune, blessing, whatever you want to call it. I'm extremely grateful that we find ourselves, that I've had the privilege to go through life with someone up to this point and know someone so well and still be loved and liked. It's an amazing feeling to be at, like, looking at the 20-year mark and knowing that I've got something this special that, like, I hoped for, but knew that there were no guarantees that it would happen.
It's kind of become a thing that, especially in Los Angeles, when you say you've been married for 18 or 19 years, people are like, is this a joke? You guys been married that long?
Well, I like to interpret it as, oh, you look so young, first of all, but then once I get over that as not being the reason, then what?
And again, I completely agree with everything that you said, that this is not based on, listen, if I know anything, it's that I know a whole lot less than I thought I did at 20. I know a whole lot less than I thought I did at 30.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, with every year that passes, I'm just more aware of how little that I understand. It's kind of intimidating. And how much is left to learn about the world and myself and my wife. So I'm not saying that we've done anything. We like I feel very, like what you said, very privileged that it's turned out this way. Because I'm sure there could have been in some parallel universe. There was an event that happened in the relationship of Rhett and Jesse that was too much for them to bear. You know what I'm saying? And I've been able to avoid that. It's not like, no, there was that thing I can point to that was, we almost didn't hang on, but we did. It's like, no, it's like I said, there's been ups and downs, but this has been an adventure of growing in partnership with somebody that I still, when I think about, I get to go away for a weekend, I'm like, I get to go with her away for a weekend. And that's something that I want to do.
But maybe that strong guy will be there too.
If Mark Strong is there, it'll be even better.
Or just a strong guy with dogs.
World-class storied career. Best actor of our generation, Mark Strong. He looked happy in his marriage. He's 55 years old. Sorry, Mark, but you can go on IMDb and figure that out. He looks like he's been with his wife for a while. Got some teenage kids. Looks very happy. Sure, if Mark Strong wants to come on, we don't even have guests anymore, but if Mark Strong wants to come on and talk about how you have a strong marriage, you are welcome anytime, sir. You can replace Link. You can sit right there in that seat.
I'm all for it. All right.
You got a rec for us?
We love our wives, but much more importantly, they love us. That's the extraordinary part. That is the crazy part. Sure, I got a rec for you, man. Man, I feel like this is a music recommendation. Dang, it's gonna be polarizing. Uh-oh. Now, for the youngsters out there, they're gonna be like, "What? Okay, I'll check it out." I'm cool. Hey, that's cool. But like, I'm gonna recommend Aja by Steely Dan. I'm gonna recommend the whole album, and I'm gonna acquire it. And then I'm gonna recommend that you watch the Classic Albums series on the making of that album, because these guys went into they're both dead now, but when they were living, they decided to stop touring as a band.
Steely and Dan?
Steely Dan became like a studio band, and they're like these like ultra perfectionists, like making this pristine studio music. But the song Aja, AJA, that's a wild ride, man.
And that's also the name of the album?
Yeah. Crazy album. They turned the song Peg is on there. They turned Michael McDonald's backup vocals into like a synth, like a synthesizer. Like they got him to sing, and they mixed it in that way. It's crazy. It's just very every choice that you could make musically, they made unexpectedly on purpose. And the most geek, to be a Steely Dan fan, like really is like a very geeky thing to do. It's like,
what activities do you recommend to do while listening to it?
Laying in bed with headphones on while your wife sleeps.
I go to sleep before my wife.
Oh, well, I wouldn't do it while she's awake.
It's just listening to music.
You can do something better while she's awake.
Or is it more than that? What do I not understand here?
Such a weird ride, that song. It's like a weird amusement park ride of music.
Okay, Aja, Steely Dan. All right, this has been another Ear Biscuit. A little bit longer. We baked this one a little bit longer for you, but we didn't overcook it, hopefully.
Lots of love and marriage and beach and pool life.
Let us know about what you think the keys to a long committed relationship are, or a strong relationship, specifically if you're Mark Strong. I'm willing to read anything that you do. Let us know with hashtag earbiscuits. We'll interact. Let's interact on the internet.
Thank you. We'll speak at you next week. I love you and I like you. To watch more Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.